Hello. Today we're going to be talking about acid rain. Now, the first question you have to address when talking about acid rain is, what is acid rain? Now, acid rain isn't acid falling from the sky. That would be terrifying. Instead, acid rain is similar to normal rain, however it has a lower pH, and this causes a lot of ecological damage to the environment. Now, today we're going to be talking about what are the causes of acid rain, what are some of the effects, and how we can stop acid rain. Nitrogen oxide is one of the main causes of acid rain, and on the screen right now you can see a graph of what man-made objects produce the most nitrogen oxide. Now, transportation produces 54% of nitrogen oxide, buildings and industry produce 23% of nitrogen oxide, and electricity produces 23% of nitrogen oxide.
An increase in industrialization in the world today is leading to more factories and more cars being produced. This increase in factories leads to higher NOx emissions, which leads to acid rain. Now, because of the increase in population, especially in already highly populated areas, a lot of traffic is being produced in these areas. And therefore, more and more and more nitrogen oxide is being released into the air, reacting with the water to create nitric acid. The sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide released into the air by factories and cars reacts with the water vapor, H2O, in the air. When nitrogen oxide reacts with dihydrogen oxide, it results in an acidic solution called nitric acid. Now, when sulfur dioxide reacts with the water vapor, it results in sulfuric acid. Both of these acidic solutions mixed in with the already pure rainwater result in slightly acidic solutions that can result in really harmful ways for the ecosystem.
Here is a map of the United States' nitrogen oxide emissions. As you can see, the nitrogen oxide emissions are much higher in the more industrialized East Coast compared to the much less industrialized West Coast. Now, this trend is directly correlated to the hydrogen ion concentration and thus the pH. As you can see, the East Coast has a much lower pH in the rain and a much higher hydrogen ion concentration than the West Coast.
Now, one might ask, what are the effects of acid rain? Why do we care so much that these pollutants are being released into the sky and creating more acidic rain? Like, who cares that the rain is more acidic? Well, here's the thing. It results in many ecological problems, like dead trees, as shown in this picture. The acidic rain depletes the soil of its nutrients, resulting in dead plants, dead trees, dead forests. Forests that provide oxygen for the earth are being taken away because of acid rain.
This graphic shows the pH levels which certain animals can tolerate without serious injury to their health. Although larger animals such as frogs and fish can tolerate lower pH levels, that's really not the pH level that their environment or even they can withstand, because these smaller animals, which make up the basis of their food chain, die at a much higher pH level than they do. So in reality, an ecosystem has a much lower tolerance to pH changes than the largest animals in the environment do.
Now, when acid rain falls from the sky into these lakes, these rivers, and these estuaries, it lowers the pH and makes it uninhabitable for fish and other organisms. Now, when these fish die, it's either because the low pH kills intolerant animals that they feed on, or they are intolerant themselves, like a bass. Now, not only does it kill fish, but it also kills salamanders, And if the pH gets really critically low, it also kills frogs. Now, these animals may seem small, but they really keep the ecosystem balanced. And if those die, it could really throw off the balance. Now, the death of these aquatic organisms doesn't just affect the aquatic ecosystem, but also the ecosystem around it. When the fish die, it takes away the food source for many birds, which also takes the food source for many animals that eat the birds. So really what happens is that it throws off the whole entire system that keeps the ecosystem balanced.
Acid rain's effects don't just end there. Acid rain also causes the erosion of the beloved statues which mark our culture. Now, this proves to be a grave problem to us as we go on, as some of the monuments we hold dear to our heart are slowly murdered by acid rain.
When sulfuric acid falls from the sky, mixed with the rain, onto bronze statues, it induces a chemical reaction which yields copper sulfate and dihydrogen oxide, as well as a gaseous form of sulfur dioxide. Now, this sulfur dioxide, which is released back into the air, reacts with the water vapor again to create sulfuric acid.
Recently, West Virginia has attempted to quell the effects of acid rain by dumping large amounts of limestone dust in their rivers and streams. Now, this solution is much more effective than previous solutions, which involved turbines to remove acid rain, as they're only going to spend $350,000 for the entire state of West Virginia to dump limestone in. Part of the reason the limestone is so effective at stopping acid rain, and the reason they're using it in the first place, is because the presence of limestone and other calcium carbonates in waters and streams helps maintain a constant pH as the minerals react with excess acid. This has had great effects in West Virginia and helped restore many barren streams to their previous life-filled states.
As we said earlier, this acid rain is a big problem facing us today. We said that it is caused by many buildings and factories' emissions, along with cars and different ways of transportation, like trains and ships. Now, when they emit these nitrogen oxide gases and sulfuric dioxide gases, it mixes with the water vapor to create nitric acid and sulfuric acid mixed with this rainwater when it falls onto the earth. Now, this causes the various ecological damage, killing forests, killing many animals, just ruining the food chain. Then on the other hand, it corrodes all the statues that tell the history of the world and what happened. So acid rain is a huge problem, and it's very important that we stand up against it and talk about ways to help solve it. Thank you for listening.